We as humans build infrastructure that we think is suitable for us. Human uses a lot of judgment when it performs certain action. For example, if you have an iceberg table, you want to commit data to it. You'll have controls, you'll have data quality checks. AI may not take that decision autonomously. You need to tell AI specifically what needs to be done. Once the AI has applied the change, there is no accountability because it's a machine that did it. So I think what is missing is primitives to be able to give AI tools so that they can do auditable changes to the data sets.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Signals. I'm your host, Gwen Chen. Joining me today is Maheshdatta Mishra, VP of AI Products from Cloudera. Mahesh has spent nearly 2 decades building large-scale data and AI platforms across Amazon, Instacart, GE Healthcare, and now Cloudera. Today, we will talk about data, AI, as well as what it takes to build AI products at scale. Mahesh, welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is a pleasure.
So first question I want to ask you and I work together at AWS, right? And I know you're a data expert. You spent a decade at Amazon as well as their cloud services arm. And I'm really curious to know what made you to decide to move from data to AI? I mean, data is a very exciting area in itself, but why AI now?
That's a good question. Just to be precise, I spent like 14 and a half years in AWS and Amazon together, primarily in data space. It's actually the moment that inspires you to make a move, right? So the moment is now for AI, right? What has changed over a period of time? If you have to go back like 5 years and then come back to today, fundamentally, there is a lot of innovations that has happened in the data space. And those innovations have fueled the innovations in AI as well. And data and AI have never been separated together. Data is basically the foundation for AI. So while working on the data space, I worked in Amazon supply chain for optimizing networks, which gave me some insight into AI. Now with this new revolution of agentic AI and generative AI, and fundamentally, what I see in next 5 years, things are going to happen is every experience that is out there, every customer experience, every technical users experience is fundamentally going to change. The UIs or user experiences are going to be powered with a lot of AI tools around it. So I think this is the time when you can jump into that bandwagon and then try to innovate on behalf of your customers. I think that is why I think I made a move from data to AI. But fundamentally, things are not very different here. Cloudera itself is a data company, and AI experiences around data is something that fascinates me forever. Most advanced AI models that are cloud hosted, and sometimes regulated industries have constraints around not sharing data in their cloud infrastructure. So, for example, regulated banks, healthcare organizations, they are not very comfortable sharing the data with public models. For them, Cloudera becomes a platform where AI is available on-prem and they can use it on their premises. Their data doesn't leave their firewall boundaries. Those are the areas where we are doing a lot of innovation, working with NVIDIA and other partners here. We are bringing in GPU capability into the data center. A lot of NVIDIA models, including Gwen and Nemo stack of software that we are bringing to customers, so that they don't have to leave their on-prem environment. They should be able to leverage AI where their data is.
Well, let's look back at your career journey, right? From GE, Amazon, Instacart, and then now Cloudera. What were the biggest platform shifts that changed how companies approach and use data?
Yeah, the platforms changed. Actually, the data platforms have changed significantly. Back in the days, if I remember when I was working with GE Healthcare, all we had is Teradata, the one monolithic cluster that used to host all the data. And if you look at that from that day to today, there's a lot of evolution that has happened with cloud technologies in place, object store becoming super scalable. Entire data platform has been broken down. You have storage separate from compute. You have catalog, which is a separate layer that has emerged. Computes have been decoupled. So a lot of architectural changes and shifts that has happened. And with that, what happened is a lot of more data that has been generated, and that is actually fueling all the AI inventions and innovations that are happening today.
So data and AI are two of my favorite topics. There has been a lot of talks, especially in marketing. Some people say bring data to AI. Some people say bring AI to data. What's your take on this?
I think they are not two different things. They are the same thing. What people are essentially meaning by that is bring the AI to where your data is. As a customer, generally what happens is your AI becomes more intelligent when it is fed with your data. Your company have institutional memory. Your company has a lot of processes. The data has a lot of context, and your AI needs to be smart. If your AI has to be smart, then it has to be trained with your data. I think whether you take data to the AI or you take AI to the data, it's essentially the same thing. All they're saying is bring the context to your AI so that it can become more smart.
I want to focus on AI first, and then I will have a lot of questions on data side. If you look at today's market, what problems do most enterprises underestimate when they're trying to optionalize AI?
Yeah, if you think about AI, how we are using AI is to simplify many of the decision making as a human we do. AI now has a lot of intelligence so that it can operate autonomously. If you look at the previous software stack, there used to be everything written down in the form of code for systems to execute on certain things. But now with AI can autonomously do things. They can think independently. They can call tools independently, and work independently as well. So what enterprises do underestimate is when there is a smart system, you need to train that system with your processes, with your decision making. Today, the data and decision making are two separate things. People store the data in the warehouse or in the lake house or whatever the data platform is, and decision making happens elsewhere. The definitions of your data is decided in some meeting, in some Slack thread, and they are not married together. And what will happen is eventually you may have your data, your context is stale because your context is being built up in a tool that is separated from your data stack. I think the organizations which are actually driving AI innovation are the organizations who are actually investing in everything around AI, because models have become intelligent and they will become more intelligent in the future. What is not going to change is the foundations of your data that you have. If you don't modernize that and make it ready for your AI, that's where you'll not be able to deliver differentiation for your customers. So for enterprises, it is those enterprises who are successful are doing the boring work, like building context layer, giving more context to the AI, building things like governance capability, things like decision tracing, be able to bring those decision traces and make their AI contextually rich, right? So those are some of the things that these companies are doing, which actually takes the institutional memory and puts it into their AI's intelligence. They're marrying the institutional memory with the AI to make it smarter. It's always easy to build a tool today. If you are using AI, you already know that it'll take few hours. If you sit together with a clear chain of thoughts, you should be able to build a tool. But when those things go to production, it's an entirely different ballgame. It needs to understand your data. Data is never clean. It is messy. Your governance controls are not easy. They're different. They're fragmented. They're across the board. They need to honor it. Then third thing is your context is in people's head. Your employees know certain things that the AI doesn't know. So you need to build a framework around it to be able to be successful in your AI journey. And those companies who do that, they are becoming successful.
So basically, what you are trying to say is data is very important for enterprises to move from pilots to scale, to
Yeah.
production scale, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Data was always important. What we
mhm.
underestimated is things around it, right? Your data, a number which is say your net revenue is your metric. It gives you nothing. It doesn't tell you like what is the formula that has been used. It doesn't tell you like what are the sources of the data. It's just a number. When your AI tool want to extract net profit information from your lake house, it needs to have that context to be able to compute things really clearly. So I think data was always there. The numbers were always there in your databases. What is important for AI systems is to be able to make sense of those numbers and then evolve.
There's a lot of attention on models versus data. Do you think data infrastructure is ready for the next AI revolution? What's missing? Why is that?
That's a very interesting question. There are many things that are missing, right? So whatever we have built so far, say call it iceberg or or maybe any data warehouse like Snowflake or Databricks, whatever we have built so far, they have been optimized for human experiences. And human uses a lot of judgment when it performs certain action. For example, if you have an iceberg table, you want to commit data to it. You'll be careful. You'll have controls. You'll have data quality checks to be able to apply the change before you apply the change to the iceberg table. But the moment you write a prompt saying, hey, here is the source data, apply this change to the target data, AI may not take that decision autonomously. You need to tell AI specifically what needs to be done, right? And then once the AI has applied the change, there is no accountability because it's a machine that did it, right? So I think what is missing is primitives to be able to give AI tools so that they can do auditable changes to the data sets. That's the first primitive that is missing. The second primitive is knowledge engineering, right? So knowledge engineering is basically um, this is a word which has been there for the last 35 years, but it is going to be more relevant in the AI world. So knowledge engineering is a way of capturing knowledge, storing it, and evolving it autonomously. As humans, if you think about, right, AI has intelligence. It's an educated think of it as an educated adult, but it is not trained with your ecosystem. The missing piece here is knowledge engineering, which is going to train that educated adult to do things on behalf of you exactly the way you want it to do. Say, for example, there is a supply chain company which is doing like vendor selection. There are a lot of workflow that happens in that, right? So you need to understand which vendor is good, how is the vendor lead time, what is the rating of that vendor, what are those history of receipts that we have received from that vendor, is the vendor delivering stuff in time. There's a ton of different data that we need to look at before you make a decision that, hey, I'm going with this vendor, right? This is known to you as a human. You need to be able to bring that knowledge to the AI agent to do the work exactly like you. These are core primitives that are missing today in the data platform to make it, make it just work like human beings. If you look at 10 years from today, right, what are the top priorities in the AI space? Is this knowledge engineering? Is it open source? Is it autonomous decision making or something else? There is a lot of things that needs to happen here. Knowledge engineering is one, where you need to have mechanism to gather your enterprise knowledge and store it in a way that AI systems can retrieve. But given the speed with which the AI space is evolving and the businesses are going to move because of the AI acceleration that they're going to get, your knowledge will quickly become stale. The decision that you made today, the way you made the decision today, that is going to change tomorrow. So you need a robust mechanism to be able to capture knowledge scalably from disparate sources and aggregate it in a way that the AI system will be able to use. That's one thing. Then in this space, there is not a lot of research that is happening. There is context engineering, which is also saying that provide context to the AI model, but still it is going to provide stale context to the AI model. So there is a lot of open sourcing that needs to happen where you can control decision flows, you can control decision tracing. I have written a blog around it, like how do you do AI governance. Around how do you control the flow, how do you trace the decisions that the AI model has taken, and how do you feed that back to improve your knowledge layer. That way, you have a base knowledge layer, and then as you work with your systems, additional knowledge is gathered that enriches the knowledge layer. That is kind of what you want to do in the long term. A lot of open source investment needs to happen. It's not just model; it is the harnesses around it that will keep the AI sane, not insane. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boom. What's the difference between context engineering and knowledge engineering? That's a very good question. Context engineering is a point in time view of your world. You have certain context, certain knowledge about say something like your profitability. So profitability is calculated in a certain way. You know that definition, and you have given that as a context to the AI model, and AI model is able to use that context to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. That holds good until that context is valid, right? The moment you change the definition, this is not the AI which is making the change, changing the definition. It is a bunch of humans sitting in meeting room and then talking about what should be the right formula for our net profit, for example, and then they are changing that definition. That context needs to flow back.
Yeah.
Now, next time you ask the question, AI needs to know that the definition of net profit has changed. So um, I should be able to use the new definition. And that cycle has to be continuous so that your new context flows into this context layer. So knowledge engineering brings that concept that your knowledge is ever evolving. It is giving you an institutional memory that connects to your knowledge sources wherever you have documented. It may be in your code bases, it may be in your wiki pages, it may be in your Slack messages, it may be in your documentation. Anywhere that knowledge sits, or it can be in your meeting notes, right? It can gather that knowledge and enrich this knowledge base. And it is an autonomous cycle. It goes on continuously, and the knowledge base becomes enhanced as you make decisions. What will happen with that is AI now understands what is the pattern, right? If I am making certain decisions, then what are the steps that are involved? And when in doubt, you will have mechanisms where you involve a human to course correct for the AI. Now that again becomes a feed into this knowledge layer. It tells, okay, next time you do this decision, here is the right way to do it. And next time, the person who wants to make a similar decision, it performs the right way without any ambiguities. So I think this knowledge engineering is super important. Nobody is talking about it today. Everybody is talking about context engineering, prompt engineering, and things like that. But nobody is talking about knowledge engineering. That's a field which needs to evolve. Yeah, in 1980s, when knowledge engineering as a term was coined, there was no technology. There was no LLMs. There was no good way to process unstructured data. Now with AI, things have evolved. We can process unstructured data. We can store it in graph databases. There is concepts of very scalable graph databases where you can store your knowledge graphs. I think given that we have the technology in place and we have the AI models to kind of understand the natural language, I think we should invest in this space and make sure that the enterprises have a knowledge layer, which is self-healing, self-evolving, self-correcting knowledge layer. That way, their AI models will operate just like any other team member in their company.
So today, you're probably observing the same. Everybody's trying to maximizing their tokens and the cost is rising. What do you think is the reason? Why is it becoming more and more expensive?
We need to understand the economics here, right? So the economics are to run an AI model, you need GPUs, right? And GPUs generate a lot of heat, so and consume a lot of electricity. You need power source, you need cooling capability, you need other natural resources to be able to support that infrastructure. And everything that you add, that goes back to the customer, right, to pay. So, so every single penny that you spend on the infrastructure layer, the AI companies, they just pass that cost to the customer, which leads to the pricing going up.
Right.
Then there is this, we are not in a state that we are stabilizing or slowing down the adoption of AI. We are accelerating. Every company you talk to, they'll say, hey, we have some project that is going to need AI. So there is a lot of demand in the market. And because of the demand, and there are some players in the market like Anthropic, like OpenAI, there is Microsoft, there is Amazon, Google, all these players, they want to provide more and more features and capability in the hands of customers at a very enormous pace. And when you do things at a very fast pace, you sometimes do things not as efficiently. Right? This is a new technology. There is definitely real infrastructure cost challenges, and on top of that, we are doing things not so efficiently because we are in this early stage and the demand is high. Eventually, what I see is AI model will become just like any other commodity. If you were with AWS before, you also know this well, that when initially things start, we do things inefficiently, put features in the hand of customer, then we look at the problem and then make it more efficient. That will happen once this, high demand cycle is over.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a question on Stack itself. So in the future, will enterprises ultimately like standardize on a few AI stacks, or every company will need their own differentiated or customized AI stacks?
I think what companies have as a superpower is their data is their differentiator at this point. The differentiation that lies in their data, in their processes. What will happen? This is early stage of AI. And what will happen now is these companies will use multiple tools. There'll be a lot of startups that will be created around context engineering, around providing the platform, around there'll be because this is emerging space and there'll be a lot of trials there. Eventually, what will happen is customers see the real value and they will compute the ROI on their AI investments. And there'll be a few companies who will stay as the model providers, and there'll be a lot of applications that will be built using those models. If you go back the internet era, what happened is initially in 90s you saw it, tons of companies that started just built website, e-commerce, and all that. Then eventually what happened? Things normalized. For e-commerce, we have Amazon. For travel, Expedia, Airbnb, handful of companies there. For ride booking, Uber, Lyft, handful of companies there. So eventually what will happen is there'll be winners in this space for specific use case, and those companies will survive. I think that is how it is going to pan out over a period of next 5 to 10 years.
Do you think we're reaching to a point that we can make best of data today, or a lot of data are utilized?
Yeah, I think at least the industry understands that all data should be accessible. And that is why this warehouse to lakehouse transition is aggressively happening across the data industry, where people want their data to be stored in open format, in open cloud environments, in object stores, so that any engines can access it. But there is still a gap. Nobody really solves the unstructured data problem at scale. Either they use AI to extract information from unstructured data, which becomes super expensive, or they try to use some customized models or customized workflows that can extract some information. There is already an understanding that everybody needs to align on certain standards, open source specifications around data interoperability. I can see many large companies are going in this phase where they are moving their data in lockdown formats into open formats. That's a good sign. Now AI tools can access all the data, structured, unstructured data from the object store. There'll be a single lake household. AI tools can now access all the data from a single place. Last but not the least, there'll be one single governance control layer that will control everything. I think that transition is very evident given where the industry is going now.
I have two questions about your amazing experience at Amazon. You spent many, many years at Amazon. I trust that you know leadership principles by heart. So I want to ask, what's your favorite one, and which one is still influencing how you lead today?
Yeah, I think one thing that will probably stay with me forever is customer obsession. That's a leadership principle at this point. After spending so long in Amazon, it stayed with my DNA at this point. The way to think about customer obsession is there are two folds. One is be able to understand a customer problem really well and work backwards from that to make that customer successful. That is super important trait that as a product, any product leader needs to have. And the second thing is there is a slight difference between being customer obsessed versus someone who just take what the customer says. There's a slight difference. I'll explain what it is, right? Generally, when you talk to customers, customers come with problems. They also come with solutions. And what a real customer obsessed product leader will do is he'll understand the problem really well, take the answers for the solutions, but he'll talk to more customers to disconfirm his beliefs. And then build a solution that work across the board. I think that is an area where people get it wrong. What is when we say customer obsessed, that doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, build the solution that the customer is asking for. In a product-centric organization, understand the customer problem, work backwards from that, and build a scalable solution that multiple customers can benefit from. That actually turns your scale flywheel, actually. So that's that's the thing, that's the process, or that's the leadership principle that will stay with me forever. The other one I think is important to let the audience know is you should be right a lot. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should be right all the times. You can be wrong. Start with an opinion. You should be, most of the times, I believe, if you are grounded with customer problems, you understand your customers, your gut will tell you what is the right solution. But talk to people, understand their point of view, lead with humility to understand that, hey, you are not always right. And when new data is surfaced, you should be able to relearn and then make the right decision on behalf of the customer. I think these are two leadership principles that will probably stay with me forever.
You said the right way is to build a solution that's scalable across all of the customers. Have you run into situations where the scalable solution doesn't necessarily solve the problem of customer A, but it's solve problem of customer B? So in order to make customer A happy, you have to build some customized solution on top of the product you're providing.
That happens all the time.
Okay, tell me about it.
Okay. So, Conway's law says that the systems that you build are basically a reflection of your communication structure in your organization. Okay. So, and I saw that firsthand within Amazon that the two-piece team and microservices concept, they align together. We, in Amazon, you operate as a small team. Your services are small. You do one thing really well, and you keep improving that one thing over a period of time. And it is true with every organization, right? And then, and I'm just trying to connect that Conway's principle with what I see in the industry is when you build a product, you start with an assumption that, hey, here's the first layer of my solution, here's the second layer of the solution, here's the third layer of the solution, and then you define all these cool primitives that makes that interaction super easy. The moment you put that solution in the hand of the customer, Conway's law kicks in. They have their own organizational dynamics. They have their organizational structure. They will break it apart. They'll probably use 20-25% of what you are actually offering as a platform.
Mhm.
And they will optimize it in a way that works for their organization. That's when what happens, that you end up in places where you'll have to build some customization for customers. It's not one-on-one. If you hear the same feedback from 3 customers, you realize that that's the problem in your product. You need to fix it. And sometimes you have to build customized solutions. There is other dynamics that affects your product decision. How big is the customer? How much revenue is flowing? How much of what that a customer on your platform means. So there are other dynamics that will decide that. But ideally, if you have built your product with right building blocks in mind, you should be able to extend to any customized solution or ask the customers to build customized solutions on top of your building blocks.
Yeah. My next question is about your career. So looking back, what was the hardest product decision you've made?
I cannot go to the specifics of the product decisions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I can give you kind of the meta point here. That generally, when you are leading a product that spans across the organization, across multiple teams, then there are a lot of trade-offs that you need to make so that you can deliver the product across the board, right? Where it is super difficult is when there is deviations that you have to take because you see a new assumptions that you haven't taken into consideration before. And what happens then is you are midway into your product delivery, you saw a new fact which was not considered in your assumption. You take kind of an inefficient approach to deliver that. I just codified this answer without going to specifics, but you get it.
Yeah. Another one you will like it. Another question. What's your favorite code name? And what's your favorite official product name?
Okay. Have you heard about Red Lake? You have heard about it. Yeah.
Or
So yeah, when I was with AWS is very, is a company which has code name for everything. So we wanted to give open source Iceberg access to Redshift managed storage data. We codenamed as Red Lake. Red comes from Redshift, and Lake comes from Iceberg. That's the favorite. But when it went into announcement and reinvent, we called it Lakehouse architecture in SageMaker. So
You don't
See,
like
the
it.
code name is Red Lake, and Lake House is the actual official name. It's a lot of it's a lot of change from code name to the actual name.
Yeah, the changes have to be made because, as a bigger organization, you do have some naming conventions to make sure the name is easy enough for brand new
Right.
customers.
Lot of constraints, and also there are standards. You have to, your name has to be descriptive so customers can easily understand, and then there is this trademark kind of laws that you need to adhere to, and there is branding strategy that you need to follow, the branding standards that you need to follow. So a lot of constraints that you need to operate in to be able to name a product.
Okay, I have 3 lightning round questions for you. The first one, what advice would you give to product leaders who want to transition into AI leadership roles?
That's a very good question. Today, given the AI space is evolving so fast, there are a lot of changes happening. Product leaders try to spend a lot of time understanding these new concepts, new models, hardware infrastructure, and then harnesses around it, and a lot of things that they try to learn. Learning is good. I'm not denying that. But you are not a machine learning engineer. You need to learn to understand what it means, how it can be used. But what AI brings to the table is a good outcome, right? That is why your thinking has to change fundamentally, slightly different. Where earlier, when you built a product, you had a very strict product specification, API specification, user experience, everything documented, you were giving it to engineering team to build. Now, because the user experience is fluid, AI can autonomously change that user experience, right? Given what you ask it to do. Whatever you ask it to do, the flow changes slightly differently if your prompt is slightly different. So you need to focus on the outcomes than this rigid product specification. That is, I think, super important for product leaders who want to become AI leaders in the future. They should focus on outcomes, not on rigid product specs.
The second one, what's your secret sauce of writing a good doc? Your doc is one of the best I've ever read at Amazon. I miss those days when I read a well-structured doc, well-thought-through doc with very clear logic. At that time, it was pre-Gen AI era. Obviously, you didn't
Yep.
use AI. So do you mind sharing your secret sauce of writing good docs?
I think the secret sauce is you take a break. You take a break from all the chaos happening in your day job. Think through how you want to present your case and then break it down. That's the first thing. The second one, which is even more important, is once you write the first draft of the deck, you just don't read it right away. Leave it for a day or two, then go back to that doc. You yourself will realize that where the flaws are, where it is not flowing, and you should be able to fix it. And the third one is ask your question while reading your own doc. Will my 5-year-old or fifth grader understand this doc? Yes, and not the technical jargons that you have put into it, but the flow of the doc as English. Will someone who is English literate, not technically strong, be able to understand that doc? If the answer is yes, your doc is there.
Yeah. So last one, if I invite you again 5 years from today, what topic do you think we'll be talking about?
I walk into office every day. The thing that we discussed today as we speak is tech debts. In the AI era, tech debts will be fixed because it's just an AI call away. But what will happen 5 years from now, we'll be sitting here doing this podcast. We'll be talking about knowledge debt. Hey, my AI didn't do it right because it didn't have this knowledge. My AI took a wrong decision because it didn't have that whole picture. That kind of conversation the enterprises are going to have, and business leaders will be talking about, hey, how we can fix this knowledge debt sooner so that we get better answers from our AI. I think this is what we'll be discussing 5 years from now.
So what you're saying is we will coexist it with AI.
Yes, we will coexist with AI. Every new technology is an opportunity. Just that what we're doing today will fundamentally change. We'll do more higher order thinking, higher order decision making, high stake decision making where someone has to be accountable for that decision. Those are the things we'll be doing. And AI will be probably doing almost 80% of the repetitive tasks that we do today.
Mm-hmm. So the conversation will be about decisions, how to make better decisions, how to make AI work better, how to feed AI with the most current knowledge to make better decisions.
Right. Most of the low stakes, medium stake, or some of the high stake decision will be done by AI itself. And critical stake decisions. I don't know whether that's the right word here, but the decisions that are super critical, someone has to be accountable for that decision. Strategy discussions, those are the things we'll be doing 5 years from now. And then once the strategy decision is made, we'll be telling AI as in that, hey, go fix it or go do it. Things will be done for you.
It sounds to me it's like a one-way decision, two-way door decision. If it's two-way door decision, we'll leave it to AI to do it, to make the decision. If it's a one-way door decision, humans will make the decision, right?
This is why I said nobody can put it better than Gwen.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, Mahesh, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed today's conversation. I learned a lot from you.
Thank you for having me, Gwen. It's a pleasure talking to you, and thank you.